So next up, we have a keynote speaker to discuss the topic of path to the future of OTT in India. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Zubin Jimmy Dubash, the Chief Operating Officer, Shemaroo Entertainment Limited. Zubin, request you to take over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vijay, and thanks for this opportunity. Good morning, everyone, and I hope you're having a great Tuesday morning. I just wanted to share a little bit, which is before I begin, that India is on the cusp of some explosive OTT growth. We started off with eyeballs that we wanted to come on to OTT platforms. So we wanted to shift eyeballs and shift habit. And today we are actually talking of money in the bank for most of the OTTs, in fact, all of the OTTs. So we've come a long way in the last 5 years. There's been a very interesting trend from AVOD to SVOD. I'll be talking a lot about that. And we are currently at about 90 million subscribers in India on SVOD, growing to approximately 200 million in the next 4 years. So that's a lot of buzz around the OTT space. It's genuine buzz. And to that extent, we've got a lot to talk about today. So let's just begin. I'm calling it what's up, as in what's going on in the industry right now. I think the OTT subs and the OTT business is all based on the internet growth in the country. And when you look at the internet growth, it's surging ahead, and we are looking at close to 1 billion by 2025. Much of this is going to come from the rural penetration of internet and rural adoption of internet that's going to take place. Of course, another key infrastructure driver out here is going to be smartphone penetration and smart TV penetration. So that's going to be twofold. We're looking at both smartphones, which will grow the bottom of pyramid and the mid of pyramid, and smart TVs, where evolved customers will move to smart TVs and drive OTT growth from there on. We are also looking at there are a number of OTTs that have been, sprouting within the country, and we're looking at currently about 50, and that number might just grow even more. But the interesting thing there is that most of the growth in the OTT numbers or the OTT providers launching has actually been in the regional OTT segments itself. So that gives you a great understanding of where internet is growing in regional pockets, and so is OTT in that space. On the other hand, from an infrastructure side, all this I'm talking of is supply and making the bedrock for consumption. And what's happening is content is really being invested in dramatically. We're talking about 1 billion, which just happened in this year, and that's going to grow to about 4 billion of just content investments alone, outside of technology, outside of marketing and other costs that are going to go into creation of original content across the board. When I talk about revenue, we've got a sizable revenue, about $2.5 billion, and growing to approximately $4.5 billion in the next 4 years. And that is, we are seeing a significant growth and surge in SVOD revenue, which is subscription-led VOD revenue. That is going to come up as we speak. Subscribers, as I mentioned initially, it's 90 million, growing to about 200 million in another 4 years. And interestingly, the watch time during the pandemic in the last 1 year has surged ahead from 180 billion to about 204 billion minutes of watch time, which gives you a sense of what the pandemic has actually done to the OTT industry. All in all, what I can definitely say is that there are 3 key pockets that are driving the OTT growth. So in 2020, you see a kind of tall pyramid where you see English, regional, and Hindi and cricket. Hindi and cricket, of course, take the major chunk. Regional is about 30%. But as we go along into the next 4 years, you're going to see a surge in regional content, and that's going to take a good share, making that pyramid go a little flatter as such. Summary of this is that device and internet adoption, along with heavy content investments in Hindi and regional, will drive both SWOD and AWOD content. So that's a little summary of what's happening. I'm going to talk about each of these in a little more detail in the following slides. Let's talk about infrastructure, which is data and devices. I just mentioned that smart TVs are growing at about 127% year on year, which is a very, very good sign. Data guzzlers will drive growth on both small and large screens. So these are the early adopters who came in on small screen and now, of course, are adapting to modifying their home TVs to smart TVs and moving their experience onto larger screens, thereby more time, thereby more stickiness and engagement. On the other hand, rural internet users are going to drive the Connected India vision, and that's something that we are all looking forward to. Of course, Jio's Google device, which is touted to launch anytime soon, is going to disrupt the bottom of pyramid, and that might just end the feature phone era, because that will actually make India a 100% smartphone market as such. That's exciting news. And the other good news on the lower end is that India, being a mobile first OTT market, where people consume content first on mobile and then on television, that's also going to be a good trend, where mobile and device penetration actually drives the entire growth for OTT. Let's come to content. As I said, we're looking at about $4 billion of investment in content by 2025. All eyes are on regional, and that's all set to capture the next 100 million SWOD customers. Hindi will continue to dominate in the originals and direct to OTT movie releases. Sports, movies, and regional, I'll qualify sports to even say specifically cricket, because that is the key driver of seasonal subscriptions for most OTTs who have the entire rights for that content. Localization is going to play a very key role in maximizing content investments. What that basically means is that when you have Hindi content and you try and localize it and dub it and subtitle it into various other languages, you are opening up the funnel at the top end to cater to a larger audience who could understand and who could lap up that content, and therefore you are optimizing and maximizing your ROI on content investments, which is very, very key to the entire journey. An interesting fact is we've seen a twofold fact out here as far as OTTs, as the importance of OTT for the entertainment industry at large. We're seeing a number of Bollywood and regional superstars are entering the OTT space. So whether you see Abhishek Bachchan on Breathe, or whether you see Manoj Bajpayee on The Family Man, and so on and so forth, you're seeing a lot of the superstars on Bollywood large screens, the silver screen, actually entering the OTT space. That making sure that there is enough importance given to that space and given to the OTT buzz that's there. But on the other hand, OTT originals are creating their own superstars as well. So you actually have OTT superstars like Vikrant Masi. You've got the likes of Radhika Apte and many more that are already there. They are already OTT superstars who hardly come on any television, or they've not come on any movies or any Bollywood movies, but they are actually the stars of original content on OTT. Pankaj Tripathi is a classic example as well. An interesting fact is that, this is especially post the pandemic, people are now realizing that, there's so much choice, there's so much ample content out there, but they want to, snap up content a little faster. Long episodes of 8 and 9 hours for an entire series might just reduce, and we might end up having originals which are broken up into smaller episodes. However, they will end up being a combined of about 3 hours for a season. And that's going to be the new trend. We saw a recent one on Hotstar, which is Super Ops 1.1.5, which was a crisp 4 episode, 50 minutes or so, 40 to 50 minutes each episode. And that kind of wrapped up in about 3.5 hours or so. So this is what is going to emerge as the new formats in content. Let's talk about consumer and consumption as such. I've been saying this all along, and I continue to say that the OTT by DNA is a heterogeneous product offering, and therefore getting loyalty on a platform is always going to be a challenge. So customers are content loyal. If they see a good piece of content for this week on one OTT platform, they will jump on to that. And then soon after, if they see something else, they'll jump on to another OTT platform on another for driving that content. It's similar and akin to a TV channel, which is playing, let's say, your favorite cricket match. Not many will remember which channel it comes on. All you remember is, I want to watch the match. And I think that's a similar analogy that's happening right now in OTT. So that crack to make sure that customers stay loyal on a platform is still something that we all as an industry need to figure out and work towards. We're all doing our bit. We just need to make sure that that continues to happen. On that note, let me also share with you what Shemaroo has been doing. Shemaroo, in its OTT platform, Shemaroo Me, has gone the regional route. We have an OTT offering for the Gujaratis, which is the regional flavor. We promise content to a customer at a frequency of one new piece of content every week, whether it's a movie, first time on OTT, or an original piece of content, web series, or whether it's a play or a natak, as they call it. So that's our little, our endeavor to drive platform loyalty. And we are seeing that that really works well, and it's actually driving loyalty in some way. As I said, customers are spoiled for choice. They definitely need better discovery, reco, and personalization. This is the COVID-19, the pandemic was the habit change era for the OTT space. They moved from watching TV, which was catch-up TV or whatever television content, to move to OTT and actually started living on OTT as the mainstream source of entertainment. There was a 3-time surge in consumption patterns during the lockdown, which is inevitable or it's understandable. And that's created a new normal even after the unlockdown has happened. Consumption patterns have continued to grow even 13% after the unlockdown. So as I said, from catch-up TV to original content, that's the journey that users are taking in their journey and evolution of understanding and consuming OTT. Live cricket definitely brings in a lot of seasonal SWOT customers, and that is a big draw on the content side. This is on the consumer side, sorry. Let's go to monetization. I'll break it up into different models, and we all know these models. AVOD, advertiser funded model. This actually helps you drive the top of the funnel, which has massive free consumption, which is mitigated by advertising revenue. And that is the draw for AVOD. YouTube is, and by far is, the world's largest OTT. It's the AVOD OTT of the world and will continue to hold a lion's share. But sound ad tech, along with great razor-sharp customer profiling at competitive CPMs, will help the OTTs increase that pie and get a share of that in some way. So that's where AVOD is going to kind of go. From an SWOT point of view, you've got current users who have subscribed to 2 OTTs. Now, SWOT has 2 flavors, and we are seeing some interesting case studies of people who are actually providers who are launching SWOT in a different avatar. So normally SWOT is normally termed as premium content, which you don't get on AVOD. But there are many who are now looking at the model of saying ad-free is the key insight, saying the same content available with ads will shove probably about 3 ads every 10 minutes into the content you're watching for free. But if you want it ad-free, you pay a certain subscription and then get it absolutely ad-free. So that is an interesting turnaround, or at least an interesting twist to the SWOT models. Renewals, as we see, I mean, there has been an RBI regulation on auto renewals, uh, involuntary auto renewals being, curbed in some way. So what the entire merit of content and the merit of the offering is going to make sure that renewals will continue, and that is the entire ask of the OTT providers, who will have to come up with indigenous ways to drive renewals. One of them, the last point, being long-term plans, which is 6 to 12 months. And pricing, interestingly, pricing has now changed from content-based plans to device-based plans. So earlier it was more about saying you want to watch cricket, you want to watch premium, you want to watch only web series and cricket, then you pay us this. So that was more content classification. But soon, I mean, we've already seen this happening, and many providers are doing this now, moving to device-based. So saying if you want to watch just on phone, then you pay us a certain amount. If you want to watch phone plus one device extra, you pay us a certain amount. So in that sense, it's actually gaining family traction across the pricing action that they're doing. As I said, mobile only plans are the largest thrust to SWOT for obvious reasons, because of course, a majority of the content and consumption is on mobile. And yeah, so that's on the SWOT side of things. Let's talk about TVOD. T as in transaction VOD, paying per piece of content. And there have been over 10 attempts. I mean, across the board, everyone's tried it. Shemaroo had tried it some time back during the pandemic. We actually brought in first to OTT releases of films on a ticket. We actually signed up with Book My Show and did some very interesting stuff with them, where customers can go to Book My Show and buy a ticket and come on to Shemaroo Me and watch it, or they can come directly to Shemaroo Me and watch the content. Somehow we've seen that customers are more comfortable paying for a long-term subscription, or a subscription which gives them access to all the content, rather than paying something piecemeal as such. So we yet to see a case study, a successful one on this one. PVOD. PVOD, as I call it, is VOD driven or monetization driven by partnerships. And this is the one single largest, or I would say it's one of the key factors that are going to drive monetization. So whether it's telecom partnerships, or whether it's partnerships with the ISPs or any part of the industry, as long as content is made as a solution to an external party, and that solution drives the objectives or solves the problems or the challenges of that party, there are many interesting models that could emerge from partnership-based VOD. And it's a sizable chunk of revenue that comes in because of the partnerships that you end up doing. We at Shemaroo actually run this religiously. We have about 100 plus partnerships across the board. Each of them is a line item on our P&Ls in terms of generating top line for us. So we actually create solutions for external entities across industries, and use content as the protagonist to drive those objectives. So that's on monetization. Let's talk about technology a bit. We've all seen CDN is actually one of your biggest, it used to be biggest cost, and it continues to be a significant chunk of your overall running cost of an OTT platform. And the providers will have to look at innovations and R&D to make sure that the CDN costs have to reduce drastically to sustain this entire OTT operation and surging growth that we're talking of. Whether it's through smart transcoding, smarter formats, or any other technologies that are emerging, we definitely need to have that kind of thrust in the technology innovation space to drive lower costs. Of course, AI will be in the center of all of this. There is no doubt about that. We're already seeing some stuff happening. So whether it's across ad tech, data and BI, engagement, attribution, payments, personalization, recommendation, even your player itself, across the board, we will definitely have a lot of technology innovation through AI that will come in and will drive change. I won't be surprised if there's even blockchain-based OTTs. There are already some that are existent, but we'll see some more more prominent ones coming through as well, where the technology stack itself is around blockchain. Interestingly, this also helps curb piracy, which I will be talking of in a bit. OTTs, especially for the longer tail, we right now have 50. This could go up to even 150 or 200 OTT players, but they'll always be the smaller guys coming in. For those guys, the heavy investments in tech is going to always be a challenge. So they need something ready off the shelf, something like a SaaS platform. There are already some available, but that needs to evolve to make it as simple as, setting up a Gmail account or a Shopify account for that matter. And if that kind of comes through, this will definitely help drive the OTT uptick for the smaller players. Engagement right now is very push based. So if you look at notifications, you're inundated with notifications saying, hey, new content on Shemaroo or new content, watch this, you might like that. So you're always nudged to go and consume, but it's going to move to pull based notifications and pull based engagement, if I may say so. What that means is that people will end up having access to short form video inside the app itself, inside the OTT app, and that will lead to smaller snacky content around what you are trying to drive. And when someone clicks on that, he will be driven to consume the content in a snacky form, led to payment, and then finally consume. So that's going to be very interesting. Also social feeds and a whole lot of stuff around pull-based technology. Another interesting thing to localize is going to be AI-based dubbing and subtitling, which will scale that entire process, which is currently heavily manual as such. And the one thing that's definitely on everyone's minds, and I will be talking about it in a few slides from now, is piracy. Tech for anti-piracy, we always need to continuously be on the one step ahead of all the fraternity of pirates. We need to make sure that there is definitely all possible ways to curb this, because the amount of investments going in is definitely heartburn when that gets freely consumed on various platforms across the board. So that's tech for anti-piracy. Let's talk about marketing and customer acquisition. The number one tool to scale up your campaigns and scale up your acquisition strategy is going to be performance marketing. And that's driven by Facebook and Google. Of course, there'll be affiliates and all of that, but definitely performance marketing is the driving force. It has to be a well-rounded marketing strategy. So when you're looking at performance, you also back it up with a show marketing spend. When I say show marketing, I mean, if you are launching a new series, you actually say new series on OTT. So you don't end up saying, come and watch 150 titles on this particular OTT. That's more brand. But show marketing is actually direct stimulus for customers to come onto the platform. So mainstream show marketing along with performance will drive acquisition and consumption. And you definitely need to keep a good amount of control on the CAC, which is your customer acquisition cost, because and for that you need very sound technology for attribution. And there are few players global players who work in this space, but we need to look at the best in that to kind of don't compromise on this is the message here, in fact, because a big chunk of your cost go into acquisition. And if your acquisition metrics are not in sync, you will have serious holes in that acquisition budget of yours. Competition. Who is competition? Would it be another OTT? No. Would it be someone else? No. Piracy, definitely. So piracy is your biggest competition, one of the biggest competitions. And that is definitely one thing that the entire industry needs to work on, both from a policy and regulation and legalities point of view, as well as from a tech point of view. This is something that will continue to need a lot of overall industry level attention, which is already happening at various forums and at various levels, industry bodies. But this needs urgent attention as far as piracy curbing is concerned. The other thing is 24 hours, and I just write it with an exclamation mark for an intention, which is we only have 24 hours in a day in which we end up sleeping for 8 hours, 16 hours of wake time, and probably you end up having close to about 8 to 9 hours of work, or maybe even longer, 10 hours of work. So you're left with only 6 hours, and travel time is about 2. Now that we are all under lockdown, we are all in traveling mode again. So that's another 2 hours gone. So you're left with just 4 hours, and then you have to manage family time and house things. Where is the time to actually consume? So that is your biggest competition. And if you end up saying that your competition, what do I do as an OTT to be part of those precious 4 hours in a customer's day rather? And I think that needs constant innovation, constant thinking, brainstorming, blue skying, to figure out how do we end up making customers use this and make this a significant part of their lifestyle. And then, of course, because of the same reason, because time is precious, people are moving to short form video. Same reason why I said that even web series sizes will turn to about 2 to 3 hours, chopped into about 8 episodes. So short form video is also a key competitor, I would say, because people would want to continuously just, aimlessly look at video over OTT longer form, because there you need to consciously say time investment of 3 hours for this movie or 6 hours for this web series. And that's where you are going to see some sort of competition eating in. However, like I said, a lot of the engagement can move to short form videos. So you could actually have best of both worlds, pop in a short form element into your OTT mainstream application and enjoy best of both worlds, or give your customers the best of both worlds as such. What's next? Consolidation, yes, it's on everyone's mind. We're already seeing it happening. 2 big players coming together very soon. We'll see all the integration in place, and then there will be consolidation. Consolidation cannot happen at the tech level. It will always happen at the content level, because having just technology consolidation is like having an empty bottle with no wine. The wine is actually your content. So you will end up having a lot of content players, media companies merging and making sure that consolidation will happen, but at an overall level, which will include content plus technology. The next 100 million SWOT subscribers will come from regional and cohorts. When I say cohorts, I mean interest-based cohorts. You could end up having customers in affinity groups, like, I like classic content, so we'll end up giving you only that in a certain customized way. And so on and so forth. You could have people who love devotional content, so you only want to give them devotional subscriptions. So that is going to be more of that. Regional and micro-linguistic content, we've spoken enough about that. NFT is a natural offshoot because of so much of IP being created. There will be some sort of parallel business, nothing that is going to take OTT to NFT, but it's more like non-fungible tokens are digital assets which will come out of a lot of the content that's already created, and it gives OTT providers one more facet or avenue to monetize the content. And of course, social commerce, which is again the meeting of Facebook meets Amazon shopping. So what actually happens is you got social media, people are constantly browsing and looking at short form video or what have you, and that leads to saying, hey, I have this fancy shirt, or I have this really amazing skin cream, and click on this and end up going on to the e-commerce platform of the same provider. So there are providers like Trell, there are providers like who are doing similar stuff like this, and I see a lot of that happening as such. I think that's what it is. Covered up whatever I could in this little short time. I hope this has been helpful and informative to all of you. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I hand it over back to Vijay.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so very much. Unfortunately, due to the time crunch, will not be able to ask any questions. As the next session, experts are very ready to take center stage. Delegates with questions to Mr. Zubin can share it with us, and we would get Mr. Zubin to answer them and share it with you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Zubin, for the brilliant presentation. It was both insightful and benefiting to our audience. It's a pleasure having you as a keynote speaker, and we look forward to working with you on our future initiatives.